Hey guys, Thetcglover here. How we doing? I am back in my house. Literally, I've been busy for the whole week, and I do apologize for no content in the last week. Of course, I've been a bit weird with content, but only because the last week or so I've been spending a lot of time moving, rebuilding stuff, having to take it apart, rebuild it. It's a nightmare. Moving house is the worst thing. I've only done it once in my life and I hated it. So now that I finally relaxed and I can finally do videos, you'll be getting a lot more stuff, and I have my microphone and I have my camera and my computer's much better here and everything, so all really good stuff, better internet, everything. So today's video is going to be kind of talking a little bit about a video which Mega Capital G made the other day. Now this is talking about boss monsters. Now of course boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh have formed one of the cornerstones of Yu-Gi-Oh, okay? And if you play any other kind of video game or anything like that, generally you need to have boss monsters, because you need to have like a kind of end game where you're killing little things and then you get to the boss, and then the boss kind of represents basically the final frontier. If you beat the boss, everything you've learned kind of comes into its own at the end, right? So a boss monster is basically telling you to man the fuck up and actually play this game properly, because this thing is going to beat the shit out of you if you don't put your most amount of effort into it as possible. When your opponent summons a boss monster, it's really you're supposed to see it and you're supposed to go, oh, this thing has a lot of attack, I need to find a way to get rid of it, because everything else that they have on the field becomes a little bit more relevant, because that thing is going to keep destroying your monsters, it's going to keep using its effects, and it's going to keep beating the shit out of you until you kill it. Back into maybe Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, you'd have to deal with Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field. You'd have to do something like Monster Reborn a monster, tribute summon Skull, and then equip it with Axe of Despair. So you'd be using a whole bunch of different cards in your hand, like 3 cards or 2 cards, to get rid of this one card. And then when your opponent now have to deal with a 3500 Summon Skull, they have to just MST and then they can summon something attack. So Summon Skull with an Axe of Despair is stronger than Blue Eyes, but it's not got the formidable power of a Blue Eyes, because Blue Eyes is inherently 3000 attack. So it was a bigger boss monster than Summon Skull. So boss monsters are really weird in how they are, but back then Blue Eyes White Dragon was easy to kill, because you'd obviously build up your kind of boss monsters against each other, you pit them against each other, and then when you realize that you actually playing your boss monsters against each other, you have this kind of moment of, this game is super awesome, I love it, because we're actually fighting our bosses together, and you get to use traps, you can obviously boost each other's attack, you know, So you can really come down to a showdown where you basically go, whoever has the biggest boss monster wins the game, you know, and it's like, oh god, I've got to now think of something else. But with that being said, there was always Dark Hole, there was always Raigeki, there was always some kind of lightning vortex or something. So even if your opponent had a boss monster, you can still kill it very quickly. But the fact is that if you didn't immediately have that card to deal with it, you'd have to create your own boss monster, or you'd have to use some kind of a combination of attack increasing cards to get your monster higher than theirs so that you can beat it. Otherwise this thing is going to destroy you. That is back when it was a game of trades. But what if Konami is now making cards, summon it, and then you win the game? Like, there are cards now which you can just summon where your opponent may not have a mained out to it, or they may not have a side out to it, and there is literally 0 outs except for maybe a few cards in the game, or a few combination of cards where you'd be able to deal with it. And there are a few of these, and obviously there's one that recently got announced, the near future for the TCG, which of course has been talked about a week ago, but I'm not going to go into it too much. But of course we know something like Apocryphal Towers, which when it came out was a real pain in the ass, right? You could summon the towers quite easily, but you couldn't summon it so easily, so you still had to tribute 3 cards to do it, and you had a field spell, Laser Clip, that let you actually get these monsters on the field quicker. You can use Disc, you know, if you want to do that, and you can tribute all 3 of them. So there was ways to do it in the deck, and so therefore making it, and in some cases you could just summon it and you could win, right? And then as the card is on the turn for, you know, the more turns it's on the field, it would keep taking cards out of your opponent's hand. So that would be incredible, you know, and that kind of makes me worry, because I'm wondering if that kind of power really is fine for the game, you know? Boss monsters, it's no longer a case of, can you get the bigger boss monster and crash, and then you just start again from the bottom and you build on the rubble, and then you keep doing it until one person runs out of cards, and then you win. That was how it used to be back in the day. If now it's a case of whoever summons their boss monster first wins, then it makes you worry about the future of the game. I mean, obviously we now have Legendary Fisherman III, which I'll have on the screen somewhere on the screen. And this card allows you basically to banish everything your opponent controls, right? I think it's all monsters. And then it can't be affected by spells and traps, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and then you can return all your monsters, your opponent's banished cards to the graveyard to do double damage with every monster that can attack on your side of the field that turn. You can literally just summon it and win the game. Of course there is stuff like 101, there's stuff like Castor, but those are realistically the only things that you can really, like, most people will have to actually be able to deal with it. If you're not playing a rank 3 deck, a rank 4 deck, then you're screwed. If you're playing Big Eye, then that's another way to deal with it. In most cases, you're going to want a Raigeki, you're going to want to do something that will destroy it by a card effect, like Volcanic Scattershot, or Black Rose Dragon, or a whole bunch of things, and then this card just doesn't die. And it's like, there's no fun in dealing with boss monsters that can't die by card effects or can't die by battle. You have to use some kind of obscure shuffling back into the deck mechanism to deal with it. And it's like, at that point, why would I want to play against a card that is literally invincible except for maybe 1 or 2 cards? It's not fun to, or not fun to see that Konami is making these cards because they know that cards like Castor exist. They're going, oh yeah, you have Castor, you'll be fine, we're going to reprint it in the tins, that's fine, everyone gets hold of it. It's like, yes, but Castor was equally as retarded. It's like, just because you have other retarded cards doesn't justify this retarded card being in the game. So just actually create cards which can be destroyed by conventional means, because most people back in 2005, if they were to see a card like this, they would stop playing the game entirely, because this card is absolutely broken. It's absolutely atrocious, and it doesn't mean you can't warning it. It doesn't mean that there isn't no out whatsoever. But if you don't have an out to it, you lose the match. There is absolutely no way for you to deal with it. If all of your methods of destroying and getting board presence is by card effects, by destroying by card effects, or Raigeki, Dark Hole, or Mirror Force, or Torrential, or Bottomless, if those are the ways that you deal with it, then you can't, and you'd instantly lose. I mean, obviously, Legendary Fisherman 3, they try to balance it by making the card hard to summon, because you need to have Legendary Fisherman 1, and that can be summoned with Legendary Ocean. That being said, as soon as you pull it off, and as soon as you have it, you win. And it's the same as Towers. You don't always pull off Towers. You can just play conventional Cleafort deck. But if you actually do have the combo, you can summon a card that can't lose you the game, and you just keep ripping cards out of your opponent's field and hand. It's worth having in there, because now and again, every time you get the chance to summon it, you win the game. And it won't really give you consistency problems, because if you run one of them, then you just go, oh yeah, I draw it, I won. That's not boss monster, that's just retarded. You know, that it's getting to the point now where boss monsters are getting too hard to kill, and that it's taking the fun out of the game. So every time you see it on your opponent's field, you go, okay, how am I going to deal with this? I can't. Let me check my side deck or my extra deck. I can't. It's over. I can't deal with it. So that's my problem. I mean, there is stuff like Beezor, which can be destroyed. It can be shuffled back in. And there's a lot of other ways to deal with it. But there are other stuff like Quasar and a few other things like Xian, which negate stuff. But Xian is easy to deal with because you can just use all monster effects and you can get rid of it that way. Quasar is like bait out. Okay, you baited out its effect. Now actually play Yu-Gi-Oh and actually kill it properly with something normal like a card effect that destroys like Dark Hole or something. So you try and use something to make them go, oh, they're trying to kill my card, I negate it, and then you kill their card, and then you know, you can play forward after that point. With that, Quasar isn't really on the same level, because these cards they don't give a shit about whatever else I have on the field. It's literally designed to save itself. And if you just can't kill this one thing, it's not like Hearthstone where you can just attack past their monsters and hit them in the face. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to kill their monsters first in Yu-Gi-Oh! So the fact is that you create this wall that can't be destroyed, and it's super powerful, then it makes you think, like, it's taking the whole mechanic of attacking directly and actually, like, card trading, it takes it out of the equation because you can't kill it. It's just there. It's impossible to kill. You know, it's like it's broken. It's like it's something wrong with the game. Ugh, God, these fucking cards. Seriously, they're just ridiculous. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and comment down below your opinions, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And until next time, the Thetcglover is out.